Hey guys, it's Jolene hanging out at Smith's Nature Friendly Farms, and we're in the kitchen today making dried okra. All right, why would you want to make dried okra? Well, I find that okra comes in a large abundance and it's actually quite hard to utilize all your okra. So what I've discovered is you can actually make some pretty tasty snacks out of them by drying them in your dehydrator, or if you have an oven, and you can do it probably in the oven, but we're going to do it in the dehydrator today. And okra is fantastic. It's actually pretty rich in nutrients, magnesium, said to have some antioxidants in there, calcium, all kinds of good stuff. So it's actually really good to eat. And for some of us, it's not overly tasty. Certainly not something that you want to just pull off the tree and eat. It's usually cooked in a gumbo or a jambalaya, or some people, I think, pickle it as well. I haven't much like the pickled okra, but today we're going to dry it, and I'm going to show you how I do it. All right, guys, we are going to need a couple of items in order to complete the dried okra today. Obviously, first and foremost, the most important is a dehydrator. If you don't have a dehydrator, some of you might want to try it in your oven. I have not yet tried it in an oven, so it will be in that dehydrator. You'll need a bowl for mixing up your okra. You're going to need some olive oil, some seasoning salt, and I have a Morton Season All, some scissors and wax paper, a cutting board, and don't forget the okra. All right, so let's get started. All right, so one of the first things I actually like to do is make these wax paper cover sheets for my dehydrator. I'm going to place these on my dehydrated tray, like so that I can dehydrate with a seasoning on top that doesn't get all over my dehydrator. So we are going to make one of these. I'll show you how I do it, nice and simple. I've basically taken a square. The first thing is to fold the square in half. Doesn't have to be perfect. Find the scissors, like wrapping paper, it's the easiest thing to lose. Cut out your half circle. Okay, and then on the open side, round your corners. All right, so there we go. Now we have a cover for one of our trays. Next up is cutting up all the okra. Now I've pre-done this so you don't have to sit there and watch me cut up my okra, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to show you how I cut it. I take off my end and I just put it in small stars. And the reason for the small stars and keeping this shape is I've tested it in a longer version, like where I've just done the whole okra. I've tested it in okra cut in half, and this is what actually dries out the nicest and creates almost, not quite, but almost like a little chip. So now we have our bowl full of okra all cut into nice pieces. Our next step is to actually cover them with a bit of oil and seasoning salt. The oil will act so that the seasoning salt can stick to the okra. And I don't have measuring amounts. I'm not a kind of an individual that uses measuring unless it's in baking. So I'm just going to use just enough oil in order to cover off this bowl of okra and then season it based on what I think I like. So you'll have to play around with that portion just a bit, but let's do that first. All right, I'm going to use a tablespoon to start, or sorry, 2 tablespoons to start, and mix it around, see how it looks. We have some escapees, and I think I'd like another tablespoon. So we're at 3 tablespoons now. Yeah, and that's looking about right. Everything looks pretty covered, and I'm satisfied with the amount of oil in there. All right, now on to my seasoning salt. Toss her in, mix it around. Another one. Mix it around. and one more for good luck. Okay, we're on the set of threes. I have 3 shakes of seasoning salt and 3 tablespoons of oil in this batch. So then I'm just going to place this into the dehydrator and then we'll get started with cooking them. All right, here we go. We have them all set up on the tray, ready to go in the dehydrator. Now we're going to let these run. I think we've got it set to 140 Fahrenheit. We'll probably let them run overnight, but I check them often just in case they get done a little sooner than later. So we'll take a look at them when they're all done and take a taste test. All right, you guys, the okra is done drying and let's give it a quick taste test here. Perfectly crunchy. I totally did it overnight. So overnight seemed to work best, and I actually let it run a little bit longer this morning. You can always, you know, take your time and determine how crunchy you want it, but I like it really crunchy. And they're super good. Play around with your seasonings. If you're in the South and you kind of like a bit of Tony's flavor to it, I'm sure that would be great. But I definitely like the seasoning salt aspect of it. I'll flip you around here and let you take a closer look at it so you can get a little visual, and then we'll be done. So this is how it looks. Doesn't look overly appetizing, funny enough, but they do taste quite good. It shrinks a lot. And one thing I wanted to mention, I ended up throwing some apples down in the bottom, so it doesn't matter what tray or where you stack it. For those of you that are wondering about why did I put it on the top, it really does not matter. I just happened when I was filling it to decide that I was also going to be putting in some apples, so I had apples that needed to get used up. So it doesn't matter whether they're on the bottom or the top. You can put them anywhere on the tray, just as long as they sit for a fairly long time to dry out. All right, so that's our fun for the kitchen today. Our dried okra was a success. If you have any questions, definitely put them in the comments down below and I'd be happy to answer them. Or if you have any ideas of really great seasonings to try on them, I think that would be cool as well. Awesome, you guys. Well, be friendly, be kind.